David Icke, whatever his name is.
Oh yeah.
When he says the moon is a big massive spaceship.
Listen, I don't want to kind of say anything against Ike, because I used to watch him when he was a sports reporter. And then he suddenly went into this thing. So I think Ike's interesting, but I don't know anything about him really to say anything about him negative. But my point is this. I think, for various reasons in Catholic prophecy, completely unconnected with what I've been talking about to you, I think we're coming to a head. And I think that's why this stuff with aliens, alleged aliens, remember, I don't believe they're aliens, I think they're from here. Because this stuff about alleged aliens, spaceships, all this kind of stuff, and abductions of females, but males as well, and sexual experiments, and the creation of hybrids. This is Genesis 6 over again. And because I think we're at the end times, or near the end times, that doesn't entirely surprise me. We could be speaking of these as Nephilim again. Not aliens, not real spaceships from Alpha Centauri or some other part of the galaxy. No, from the Earth, from the olden days, from the spirits that fell.
So you're thinking there's another creature, whatever it is, bottom of the sea, that's living at the bottom that we don't know nothing about?
I wouldn't say it's as concrete as that, but certainly the sea is a place they could be, the ocean. But you see, there are other dimensions. We get this when we talk about, St. Paul said he was taken up to the third heaven. Well, you could get in a spaceship, well, men have gone to the moon, right? They've not gone through a third heaven, they've just gone through space. But what's St. Paul talking about? Well, is it beyond the moon? I don't think, even if you could have a spaceship that would carry on, sort of like carrying on in a straight line, past the moon instead of landing there, you wouldn't find this third heaven. Well, this is the point, other dimensions, right? Well, the second heaven, this is the first heaven up here. The second heaven then is at the realm where the demonic forces inhabit. But either way, it's not a place you go to in a rocket ship. It's another dimension. So if these beings, these so-called aliens, are moving in and out of space, that's why they can disappear and appear again and again. Appear on radar, as the US Navy has shown, and then disappear off the radar. And perform movements which are contrary to physical laws that we know. And so this points to the possibility of these being extra-dimensional and coming from one of the other heavens, then, one might put it in a biblical way. All this is a maybe, but what is not a maybe is that there are unidentified aerial phenomena, and in addition, that we don't know where they're coming from, how they're able to do what they do, how they can evade all our best aircraft.
The American Air Force is doing this because America has that place, Area 51. That's where the bomber at the top of disc.
Is it like Roswell, where that?
No. There's an aircraft that covered it.
Oh, you mean
the Seth bomber, whatever it's called. Stealth bomber.
Yeah.
That was made in Area 51, and some of the things you see in America came from Area 51.
There's no doubt that there are secret programs. I mean, Stealth was a secret program, right? So if anybody saw Stealth, they could think that's almost a triangular craft, and people have seen triangular craft. So you've got to take account of these phenomena which are explicable.
Because they've made another one.
But I'm not talking about explicable phenomena. I'm talking about what even the US military say are not explicable. And because they are so far in advance of anything even the great United States has, and that's where the issues come in. There's some who say, look, there are super secret programs that almost nobody knows about in the USA, and this is what we're seeing, some of it. And it's possible, I suppose it's possible. But I get the impression from what I've seen, it would be very strange if back in 2004, when the USS Nimitz had that encounter, or those pilots from the USS Nimitz had that encounter off San Diego, that it would be an American Air Force secret program, because they wouldn't want that in such a public setting unless they were going to be like testing it against their normal craft. But it didn't seem to be the way it was. Nobody knew what this thing was. Sorry, Frank.
Thank you. Well, yeah, but say like it is a U.S. Air Force.
Yes.
It is a U.S. Air Force craft. Wouldn't a perfect explanation? Because if they don't want like China or any of their enemies to know about it,
Yes.
Wouldn't a perfect explanation be this isn't ours? This is something from up above that we don't know about.
Yes.
And they could have caused this whole scandal.
Yes, you're dead right. That's a perfectly possible explanation. Do you know, I've thought about that. Some things I've thought like these things have been seen since the 1940s at least.
Yep.
And you know that group, the Foo Fighters?
Yeah.
Well, you know that comes from what World War II pilots were seeing. They called them Foo Fighters. Light objects seem made of lights, flashing around their planes during World War II. So what I'm getting at is we've seen these amazing craft going back into the 1940s.
Yep.
And what would be shocking to me is that even though the United States has produced some astonishing stuff, I'd have thought by now it would have produced, say for example, to fight in, say, Korea or Vietnam or the Gulf War even, it would have used some of this astonishing stuff to get more progress against the enemy. But it didn't. It used its standard fighters.
Yep.
And so I'm inclined to think what is being seen is not secret programs.
Yep.
Though I agree there are secret programs, and I agree, I think it's very, very likely that some of what people think are UFOs are secret American programs.
Yep.
Just that I don't think that explains this lot.
Oh, yep.
And then, of course, as I was saying to him, and you perhaps heard, there's strange spiritual events around people seeing these spaceships, as they call them,
Yep.
sometimes, these abductions, and that's creepy, but it's odd. So there we are. So, yes, you're right in many ways. And maybe one day, well, maybe in your lifetime, we'll get an answer. Me and this old geezer here, we might live to see it, might we?
Geezer.
Well,
When I die, I might have a wandering spirit.
you might. There's a song by Lee Marvin. He won't know. He wasn't even born then. You might know. I was born under a wandering star. There we are. Now there is a great American. He was a Marine, you know, Lee Marvin. He was a hard knock, and he was in this film made in about 1968 called The Dirty Dozen.
Yes.
We all laughed this stuff up, didn't we? And he was in a film. Oh gosh, with the beautiful Angie Dickinson, and it was remade, I think, with Mel Gibson. I'm not sure, but anyway, I'm not watching this film, and he was like, it's made in again '68, and he's sitting in front of a television, and he's using this remote control. I'm thinking, these Americans, I never got a remote control until the 1980s. You guys have got everything.
We make one. So yeah.
No, that's smart. That's all right. Oh well, I suppose, Victor, my friend, I must be done now, don't you think?
Yes.